I have had a lot of good memories with Call of Duty, going back to Modern Warfare 2, grinding for nukes, after that staying up all night to play Black Ops 2 when I had to go to high school the next day, and even in college, while I was studying for tests, playing Search and Destroy at the exact same time. I have had a ton of good memories, but at the same time, I have also had a ton of really bad memories. And most of these bad memories revolve around some pretty broken glitches, and specifically broken weapons that have been in these Call of Duty games. So today, what we are going to do is we're going to look at the 10 most broken weapons ever in Call of Duty. However, while we're talking about good memories, I just wanted to let you guys know that later today I will be doing a live stream, and every single Friday in that live stream we actually do custom games. So things like hide and seek, gun game, one in the chamber, infected, prop hunt, that kind of thing. And it also gives you guys a chance to play some Black Ops 4 with me. So if you want to play some custom games, you want to check out my live stream, it'll be the first link down in the description. That should start somewhere around 7 or 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But without further ado, let's dive in and let's look at the 10 most broken weapons ever in Call of Duty. So starting off at number 10, we're actually going to start with a pretty recent game, Black Ops 3. And we are going to start with the Broccoli gun, aka the Brekkie. Now, this gun was broken to begin with. You see, in Black Ops 3, they changed the way that shotguns actually worked. In every previous Call of Duty game, it was dependent on how many pellets of the shotgun shell you actually landed on target would depend how much damage you do. In Black Ops 3, all that basically mattered is that one of those pellets hit, and if one of those pellets hit with the Brekkie, it would deal 50 damage, which means you only needed to land 2 shots on your target to kill them. On top of that, the hip spread was really small, and you could just hammer on that fire button and kill your target. It was an incredibly fast time to kill, and it took really no skill to use. But that's actually not why this is on the list. The reason why this is on the list is because when you combined this a little bit overpowered weapon with a modded controller, aka a jitter mod, well, you're pretty much seeing on screen here exactly what would happen. It was ridiculously overpowered. It almost doubled the fire rate of the Brekkie, which was already good, as we said, had a good time to kill. So really, there was nothing you could do against this weapon when they had the jitter mod on here. Now, they did patch this originally, and the patch lasted about a week before the modders found a way around that patch. Then it was patched again, and at this point, I see a jitter mod every once in a while, but it was nowhere near as much as the very beginning when the jitter mod was introduced. You may not remember, but in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, there was basically 2 weapons that stood above all of the rest. The ASM-1, the SMG, and the BAL. The BAL was ridiculous. If you watched competitive play, every single player was using the BAL. Some people called the game BAL of Duty. Some people called it Call of Duty BAL Warfare. This weapon was everywhere, and it was by far the best assault rifle in the game. But on top of that, there were weapon variants in this game, and the weapon variants actually made the weapons much better, and the BAL Obsidian Steed was one of those. And essentially, this took the best weapon in the game and increased the damage and mobility with a decrease in handling and fire rate. However, the fire rate didn't really make a difference because of frame rounding. So basically, just took the best weapon in the game and added damage to it, so just made this thing that much better. And on top of that, the only way you could earn this weapon was through supply drops. Now, there were other weapon variants as well that were pretty overpowered, like the HBRA-3 Insanity or the ASM-1 Speakeasy, which took the best SMG and just threw a round drum on there, which made it so you almost never had to reload. So just weapon variants in general were ridiculous in this game, but the BAL Obsidian Steed was the top tier of these weapons. Now, they did try to nerf the BAL at one point by increasing the recoil on it, and it did make more people use the ASM one, but overall, the BAL Obsidian Steed was ridiculously powerful within this game. Up next, this one is the oldest on the list. A lot of you probably didn't even know about this one, and on top of that, it is so old, I couldn't find any gameplay of it, so you're just going to have to trust me on this one. But this one is the Desert Eagle in Call of Duty 4. No, the M16 or the MP5 are not on this list. They were really good weapons, but they weren't broken like the Deagle was. Now, basically what this was is back in Call of Duty 4, the Desert Eagle originally did not have a fire rate cap on it. So if you had a really good trigger finger, you could fire this thing at 1000 RPM if you wanted to. But what ended up happening is people ended up using modded controllers to have a ridiculous fire rate on the Desert Eagle, and you could kill someone pretty much instantly upon walking around the corner. Now the only downside to this weapon is it had a rather small magazine. However, if you kill people in the first couple bullets anyway, because this weapon had a high damage, it didn't really matter. Now, what ended up happening is they nerfed the fire rate to what it is in Modern Warfare Remastered, and to what most of the pistols in Modern Warfare Remastered are at 625 RPM. Now, an average person's trigger finger is actually right around that speed. However, if you please your girlfriend very much, you can get your trigger finger going up all the way to 1000 RPM, and a lot of really good players could. So when this originally happened, a lot of people were extremely upset with this nerf because they were a good player. They couldn't use that deagle to their advantage anymore, but I will say it definitely was more balanced than before. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the oldest weapon on this list, the deagle from Call of Duty 4 before the fire rate patch. Like I said, sorry I couldn't find any gameplay of it. But if you're an OG Call of Duty player, let me know if you remember this down in the comments. Up next, we move to the next Modern Warfare game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And just as a little bit of foreshadowing, there's a bunch of weapons from this game on this list. But this one, I'm cheating a little bit. It is not a weapon. It is a combination of perks and attachments. Of course, I'm talking about one-man army Noob Tube. So this could pretty much be done on any assault rifle by using the Noob Tube attachment with the one-man army and one-man army pro perk. And essentially what this could allow you to do is have unlimited Noob Tubes. And on top of that, there were certain spots on the map where you could fire them across the map and have them land in the other team's spawn. This was by far, in my opinion, the most frustrating thing about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. You could be on a massive kill streak and a grenade blows up at your feet and you could do nothing about it. On top of that, the person shooting them can have an unlimited amount of them. Like I said, in my opinion, the most frustrating thing about Modern Warfare 2. Now moving on, I didn't know whether or not to put this one on the list, but I'm going to because I think it is the most overpowered weapon in a Call of Duty game ever, and it never got patched. That, of course, is the MP40 from Call of Duty World at War. Now, if you never played this game, the way to look at it is most of the SMGs in this game were a 3 to 5 bullet kill. The MP40, however, was a 2 to a 4 bullet kill, and if you got a headshot, it was guaranteed to be a 2 bullet kill. Just one headshot, and that could be all the way across the entire map. So as long as you got the one headshot, it is a 2 bullet kill. Now the important part about this is that back in Call of Duty World at War, there were two different perks that were incredibly important. Stopping power and Juggernaut. Stopping power would make it so it's one less bullet to kill. Juggernaut would make it so that you are one more bullet to kill. The important part about the MP40 is that you did not have to use stopping power to make this weapon compete with the other SMGs. That meant that you could use Juggernaut with no disadvantage to your weapon, which would make it so that you were one extra bullet to kill. This was incredibly powerful that you could still outgun the other weapons and at the same time be using Juggernaut. Now on top of that, there was an attachment for the MP40 called the Round Drum. This would boost your 32 round magazine to a 64 round magazine. On top of that, you could carry around 350 bullets with you, which basically meant you never ran out of bullets. This, in my opinion, is the most overpowered gun in any Call of Duty game ever, simply because the other weapons in Call of Duty World at War couldn't compete. None of the assault rifles, none of the SMGs, no weapon whatsoever. And like I said before, it was never patched. Moving forward, we are looking at Modern Warfare 3, and the weapon is the FMG9s, and specifically the Akimbo FMG9s. You see, at the launch of the game, the fire rate of this weapon was 1038 RPM. Now, you gotta think, the attachment available for this weapon, Akimbo, gave you 2 of these, which essentially made your fire rate over 2000 RPM, which is absolutely ridiculous. If you run into someone, you can pretty much instantly drop that person. So, really overpowered. So overpowered that they had to nerf it multiple times. The first thing that they did is they lowered the fire rate to 911 RPM, but you gotta remember, when you have 2 of these things akimboed, that's still an 1800 RPM fire rate. rate. After that, they then nerfed the fire rate only when akimboed to 754 RPM. So a little bit more balanced, still a really amazing time to kill. Now, the other reason why this was so good is because with a high fire rate weapon like this, normally you have a lot of recoil. But if you have it akimboed, you don't aim down sights, which means there's not as much recoil. And on top of that, for some reason, the hip spread on these akimboed was very, very, very tiny, which made it incredibly easy to aim. So it was very easy to control and had an unbelievable time to kill. And as I mentioned, got nerfed many times. Up next, we've got the MSBS from Call of Duty Ghost. Now, a lot of you may have forgot about this one because this weapon was only good right at the beginning of Call of Duty Ghost, and this is a 3-round burst weapon similar to like the M16 from Call of Duty 4. However, the ridiculous part of this weapon is it was always a 2-bullet kill until it got nerfed. So at any single range across the entire map, you only had to hit 2 out of the 3 bullets in a burst and it would kill someone. This was relatively quickly patched and taken out, and after that you had to hit like 2 or 3 bursts just to kill someone. So it went from an absolute god gun to a complete and utter piece of trash, and after that point no one used this gun anymore because it was nerfed that hard. And I think that is the reason why a lot of people forgot about how ridiculous this weapon was, because remember, 2 bullets to kill is better than the M16 from Call of Duty 4. And this game, Call of Duty Ghost, didn't have stopping power. So I have to say, not only was this one of the most broken weapons ever before it got patched, this may also be the biggest nerf to a weapon ever in Call of Duty history. So this is where we move into the top 3 weapons on the list. And these are all ridiculous, pretty much equally ridiculous, but this is the order I put them in. So coming in at number 3, we've got the Akimbo Model 1887s, and this was nerfed. However, at the launch of Modern Warfare 2, these things were ridiculous. For some reason, when you used an individual Model 1887, it wasn't that great. However, when akimboed, the range and damage went absolutely through the roof, to the point where you could pretty much one-shot someone halfway across the map. It was absolutely insane. And not to mention, the reload time was quick. You could put on steady aim and stopping power and Marathon Pro and practically run forever with these things and kill people at a ridiculously long range. Now, it did take them a while to nerf these things. I want to say around a month, but that month, it seemed like everyone in the entire game was using the Akimbo Model 1887s. Now, after this was nerfed, that's when the SPAS 12 was discovered as the best SMG, the GOAT SMG, if you will. But until then, the Akimbo Model 1887s absolutely reigns supreme. Up next, this is my personal favorite. I know I didn't put it as number 1. I thought number 1 was even more ridiculous, but this one I love because it's in such a recent Call of Duty game, and you would think they wouldn't screw something up like this, but it's the Proteus sniper shotgun from Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. When this gun was first put in the game on June 27th, 2017, it had such a big problem with it because all you had to do was pull the trigger and it would kill someone. No, I am not kidding. If you shot this weapon and there was someone on your screen, doesn't matter where on your screen, doesn't matter if they were in the middle of the screen, you would no-scope them 100% of the time. It was like the ultimate aimbot on a console, and every single person in the lobby had it because the DLC weapons were free in this game. So very quickly it digressed to every single person playing the game had this, and I believe that they patched it in pretty much a day, but for that day I thought it was absolutely hilarious and a ton of fun just to be screwing around with this weapon that had the ultimate aimbot. And by now you have to have seen this one coming. Coming in at number 1, it is of course the Javelin glitch, the kamikaze glitch, if you will. This was a glitch where basically what you would do is you'd pull out your Javelin and then go to cook a grenade and then pull the Javelin out again and then run around. And basically what you were doing is running around with a Predator missile strapped to your back, because once you were killed, the Predator missile size explosion would go off and kill anyone within that vicinity. And eventually what this digressed to was a bunch of players running around with Javelins pulled out and the other players running away from them because they knew if they killed them, the Javelin would go off and that Predator missile size explosion would happen, and then everyone in that vicinity would die. Now, the interesting thing about this is it didn't really help anyone's kill death because the person running around with the Javelin would also die. And on top of that, it was just kind of funny to see all of these people running around with the Javelin out, trying to explode people. And to be quite honest with you, this glitch lasted for a pretty long period of time. I think it was 3 to 4 weeks that this glitch was going on within Modern Warfare 2 before it got patched, which is absolutely hilarious that something this game-breaking could go on for that long. But ladies and gentlemen, those are the top 10 most broken weapons in Call of Duty history. If I missed any, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed the video, I would love it if you could hit that like button. And if you like what you see here and want to see more, the best way to do so is make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you turn notifications on. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are